Hi guys, my name is Winnie and welcome to the Worldspin podcast, the home of Formula One content and everything motorsport. Welcome to our Imola Grand Prix race debrief. Formula One is off to the European leg of races. That for me means that I get to watch Formula One at practical hours, really, like late afternoons, my favorite sessions to watch, anyways. This Grand Prix this race weekend was a standard format for Formula One, so it's a departure from what we've had for the last two races. So the last two races, like that's the Chinese Grand Prix, was it? Yeah, and the Miami Grand Prix were sprint weekends, that format that we've previously discussed. But now this weekend was back to the traditional standard format for Formula One, where we get free practice sessions, FP1, FP2 on Friday, and then FP3 on Saturday, and then qualifying in the afternoon, and then the race on Sunday, really. So this I always like doing this because I don't know if we're getting like new listeners or like newbies Formula One, people who are starting out in the Formula One world, really. So free practice just basically means the teams get to test their cars. It's basically a practice session. So what they want to see if the parts they've brought on the cars are working. They want to correlate the data they get on the ground and the data they gathered, for example, from the simulator, like simulated track conditions. But then now they get to correlate that data with the actual like on the ground data. So in fact, it's what we call here in Kenya vitu kwa ground. Like let's say they correlate vitu kwa ground kama ziko the same as what they saw in their laboratory, like in their simulations really, or back in the factory. So anyway, FP1, I think the one question I think I received this weekend from like if you follow us on Instagram or yeah. So there's someone who had asked about why Oli Behrman. Oli Behrman, you'll remember him from Saudi Arabia when he replaced Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz had appendicitis, and Oli Behrman, he's an F2 driver. Yeah, and he jumped in to replace Carlos Sainz for that weekend, and he did so well, scoring some. He finished P7, P6 for Ferrari during that Saudi Arabian outing. So Oli Behrman was back on the Formula One grid again on Friday, and I received a question, why was he there? So according to like the regulations that Formula One operates by, they're called the sporting regulations. So according to the sporting regulations for the NADS, Article 32.4 C, like into bracket C, it requires that the Formula One teams run a rookie driver. A rookie driver is a driver who has not raced for more than two Grand Prix, like two Formula One races, really. They need to race him an FP1 in a practice session, in an FP1 practice session. So every team is mandated to race two sessions with a rookie driver. So Oli Behrman this weekend was driving for Haas as part of that mandated thing for Formula One teams. Does that make sense? Yes, I hope it does. Um, I think that's actually like a good regulations, like having to run like a rookie driver on a Formula One weekend. That helps build, their mileage and just get to experience the Formula One cars. I also feel like now, since we have like development drivers in some of the other teams, it's time we see like I think it's time we see like a female driver now just doing one of the practice sessions. Really, I mean, someone like uh, Jessica Hawkins. Jessica Hawkins is an ambassador for Aston Martin, but I don't know if I think she is still part of the Aston Martin Development Academy. Really, there's also I think who else comes to mind. What's her name again? Risa Beer. That's her Instagram handle. Bianca Bustamante, yeah, the Formula One Academy driver. She is like a McLaren development driver, so maybe put her in an F1 car. But I don't know. Like that's something like they should do. I think that's something they should look into. So anyway, practice sessions this weekend. Let's just get into it. There's also something I also wanted to just So when we say Formula 2, or Formula 2 is just a lower category of racing. So that's where Oli Behrman like races like on normal weekends. Formula 2 is just or previously was known as GP2, the GP2 series, which is just a lower level on your road to Formula One. So from Formula 2, you graduate to Formula One. That's if you get a team. So yeah, Formula 2 is actually like an interesting. It's one of the most interesting formulas, really, because the cars are all standard. They're the same. So really, the difference comes in with the drivers. As in, there's just so much like the driver can learn with the car because they operate on basically the same car. You see the way Formula One has different cars, Formula 2 has the same spec cars. Like it's the same. No one has a different car, so it's like I think the difference is boiled down to the drivers and the teams how they operate and everything. So that's such an interesting series, and if you like F1, you will like Formula 2. It's an interesting series. So that's like the place where a lot of like 8 drivers on the grid right now came from Formula 2. Those drivers include George Russell, Alexander Albon, Logan Sargent, Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, Guan Yu Zhou. They all came from Formula 2. They graduated to Formula 1. So that's an interesting series. And if you pay for F1 TV subscription, you can always catch F2 races. And yeah, that's like an interesting thing you should maybe look into. So this time, as I've said, we were back to like the traditional format for Formula 1. So we had like practice sessions, 3 practice sessions, and then qualifying, and then race on Sunday. So, and really, if anything, practice almost showed us that Ferrari had pace. Remember, they were also bringing upgrades. This is their first home race. Remember, we are yet to go to Monza. So Italy gets 2 races. They get the Emilia Romagna, the long name. See if I can get it really. It's the Formula One Cruises Gran Premio del Mid in Italy. I can't even say it. The Emilia Romagna Grand Prix, really, or the Imola Grand Prix, or formerly the San Marino Grand Prix. I just feel like I'm going on and on and on and on. Anyway, let's get back to track. So Ferrari looked like the upgrades were working, at least during practice session. So they really got my hopes high. So, and knowing that Charles Leclerc is a good 1 lap merchant, like he goes very fast on a 1 lap, like 1 lap pace, he has it. He's like one of the best qualifiers on the grid. Like, yeah, the stats, he has the stats to back that up. So the Ferrari seemed like they were with it, honestly. And Yuki seemed to be really like on merit. He was really fast. In even in the practice session. So that was really like something. Remember, the VCAP team also had some upgrades on the car. Mercedes had upgrades, but I don't know. They seemed to also, but they seemed not to do so badly off in practice sessions. But I think the thing that actually stood out for me during practice was that Red Bull, and especially with Max Verstappen, they were not dialed in. They were struggling. They seemed to be struggling with something. They were not getting things right, to be honest. Even the team radios, Max seemed very frustrated. Like there was something that was not working on that car. And FP3 on Saturday, I remember he didn't even get to do a run on the softs. And now that made things very exciting for qualifying. So it was looking like a very tight battle between the McLarens, the Red Bull, and the Ferrari. So that made it like very exciting to look into, getting into qualifying. Either way, safe to say qualifying was also very, I was so disappointed. First of all, let me say, like, I feel hoodwinked by Ferrari. They seem to have the pace, and then qualifying came, and then, oh my God, they didn't do as well as they thought. I didn't even think they tried because I was so disappointed. They qualified P4, P5 with Charles Leclerc being the lead Ferrari. So I was like, oh my God, you guys seem to be so fast in practice. And then what happened in qualifying? So yeah, that was like my takeaway there. Ferrari was like, oh my God, you catfished me. All right, you caught me. It was like, oh my, I really expected better from Ferrari, but they really did catfish me 100%. So, and then the other team was McLaren. McLaren was with it, and especially Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri was just a few seconds away from that pole. position. I think he did a very brilliant lap. The thing I'll say about Max Verstappen and his pole lap, he really had to work for it, to be honest. He did. And of course, that pole lap was aided by Hulkenberg. He gave a toe to Max Verstappen. And what that means, really, a toe means, you see the way the car is piercing into the air. Does that make sense? Yeah. So what? Because Hulkenberg was already like, the air is not so hard. There's less resistance, so that means you can go faster. Basically, that was it. What it means that Hulkenberg does the job for Max Verstappen, at least for that part of the circuit, and that helped his lap time as well, and that gave him the pole lap, which he seemed to really work for. Like it was not like a straightforward weekend for Max Verstappen. He really had to work for that pole as well. So that was really another, like, I could clap for it as well. But Ferrari, when I catch you. When I catch you, Ferrari, anyway. But McLaren, very impressive. I mean, the upgrades are working. They are winning the development war. Remember, their development started from last year, the second half of the season. They brought upgrades, and now they have not stopped with that. What they're bringing, small upgrades, big upgrades, and they are running really nicely. Like, as in, and now we'll get into the race and see how exciting it was and why their upgrades are working. This is really good, impressive stuff. McLaren are a customer team for Mercedes. I do not understand why Mercedes is struggling. Like, oh my God. Nowadays, they don't even have, like, I remember, like, when you did the race preview for the Imola Grand Prix, I was like, oh yeah, Mercedes are bringing upgrades and they swear they're going to work. I lied. Or maybe I was lied to. Again, I was catfished. These teams are getting so good at catfishing me. I really thought Mercedes was going to bring the hit, but they didn't. Anyways, that was like impressive. Yuki did amazing in qualifying. Both V Cubs were actually got into Q3, which is impressive. That means the upgrades are also working. So we had Yuki in Daniel Ricciardo in P9 and Yuki Tsunoda in P7. Both V Cubs out qualifying Checo Perez. Checo Perez was P11. Yeah, after, I don't know. This is what happens with Checo. Checo sometimes has a very nice start to the season. And even this season, I think it's also a bit underwhelming. Last season, he started very well. He won a few races, Baku, whatever. A few races. This time, he's not even won a race, and he's already, like, round 7, he's already falling off. Or maybe, Checo needs to tread very carefully. Checo is still out of drive. Like, he doesn't have a seat for 2025, and everyone is gunning for that second seat at Red Bull. So, if I were Checo, I would be watching my back. Not even really my back. I should be watching my front. Like, drive the car. Like, right? Like, why are you getting out qualified by the junior team? Really? Must be embarrassing. And I can imagine, like, doesn't it get exhausting? Sometimes I keep on thinking, like, Formula One drivers, of course, like, you have to have this mental capacity to uptake and absorb all this criticism. Because now look at me, a girl in Nairobi, in my own room, criticizing Checo Perez, a world-class Formula One driver. But yeah, you put yourself out there for criticism. But I have not even come close to a Formula One car. I don't even think I can drive a Formula One car, but I'm here offering criticism. But that's like, so they must really have, like, the mental health capacity to just absorb all of this. But like, I mean, it's not looking good for him. It's not looking very good for him, and he's not making this thing easy for himself as well. Checo, please, I'm rooting for you. Like, you can do it, cabron. Is that? Anyway, you can do it. You can do it, Checo. But, like, yeah. But as in Vile Kunenda Saizi, I don't know if he'll have a seat for next year. Yeah. So anyone Daniel Ricciardo, Yuki keeps slaying. Nico Hulkenberg, of course, plays doing the. It's also like ridiculous that Nico Hulkenberg is 37 years. He's been racing for the last. For the better part of his life, really. And even when he's not in Formula One, he was doing, like, some reserve driving for the teams, Aston Martin or I forget the team. He's come in for Racing Point as well. Like, he's been working, and he's never raced at Imola. So at 37, he's still not raced at Imola. And he came and qualified P10. Like he did like a good no P10 exactly. That was like really really impressive. Yuki Tsunoda out qualifying Lewis Hamilton. I mean that would have been very big news last year. This time it's Mercedes, and we really it's not really a big deal. That's the thing. It's not really a big deal this year. Nico did amazing. Yeah, Nico did amazing to get himself through to Q3 as well. Alpine as well. I love the both cars made it into Q2, which was impressive. I mean, starting at the start of the season, remember they were the team with the heaviest car. They seemed to be, oh my god, their car looks not aerodynamically efficient. They were just struggling. But then look at the babies now, Gasly and Esti through to Q2. That was really like also like impressive stuff from them as well. Alonso, I think Alonso crashed in practice FP3 and then brought out a red flag, and then the team were very efficient in getting his car back together very fast, and then during qualifying he beached his car again. You know, the track at Imola is very perfect for qualifying in testing the driver skills per se, because this, I mean, it's an old classic circuit, narrow streets, there's a gravel as well, so that means the margin of error is very low. That means you go over like the track for a minute, you're already in the gravel, and the barriers are also coming very fast approaching you, so that means any mistake, any error is penalized. It's very okay, yeah, it's penalized really. And we saw a lot of drivers take a visit to the gravel. Like a lot of drivers were experiencing, I don't know if there's anyone who didn't go off to the gravel. Like it was really chaotic in that sense. But Imola it's not good. Like, I mean, I don't know if it's great for racing. There's only one DRS detection zone, so I don't know if they need to recalibrate that circuit. I don't know, reconfigure the circuit. That might be one, but I'm willing to learn. I really don't know. You can tell me in the comments if you think they need to reconfigure the Imola circuit, really. So very fast, let's go into the race thing. Race straightforward, one stopper, because remember in this the interesting fact is that you lose more time in Imola. I think it's the longest pit stop. You lose up to 28 seconds during a pit stop. That's the most of any venue on the F1 calendar. That means here the only no-brainer strategy is a one-stopper, devoid of, maybe, for example, if you get a safety car. Yeah, that's the most like straightforward strategy, and that's what most drivers seemed to be on, a one-stopper. So either you mount hards, then go mediums, or mediums then hards, or you can do hards then soft. Yeah, so that was really essentially the strategy. And remember, track position here, like where you qualify, is very important, because overtaking is not exactly as straightforward as well. It's not very easy, seeing as there's only one DRS zone as well. So let's go into that race. Oh, I failed to mention about Williams. Williams also, Albon also had an issue during one of the practice sessions, brought out that red flag as well. He had a power failure problem. And then in the race, I think we can just go directly into him as well. He had two problem. I think he got the problem of the tire. The tire was not well put on the car, and I think they'll get penalized. The team will get penalized for that. Probably like a fine, a money fine, like they'll be fined by FIA. Oh, there's also like one interesting thing I learned this weekend. You see, there's there's the whole tire outer part. Of course, there's a wheel inside. So inside the wheel, there is like a sensor and thingy that feeds information from the tires to the drivers, and they're displayed on the steering wheel they have. So probably that, I'm guessing that's where also Albon was able to see like this tire is not connected properly, and he's able to report back to his team like, my tire feels loose, it's actually loose. And he went back, replaced it. But then again, after that, he's already destroyed his whole race anyway. He ended up, I think they retired the car really. Williams, like, I'm a big IOU fan. I'm a big James Wells fan. If you know, you know. I'm a big fan. But then I feel like he's speaking too much. Now I need him to stop talking. I feel James Wells, the team principal, is more of a content creator for Williams. All the time, he's always, of course, they're always collabing with Williams. I also, maybe he wants to grow his social media, or maybe it's just his strategy in how they do it, because I've not seen this much content of a team principal on social media, like It's really like I'm like, Sawa, stop talking to us. Like, can you just work? Can you make the car fast or finish a race at least? Like, without like an issue. I was so happy for Logan. Logan didn't crash out. He stood on business. Stood on business, probably finished P19, but still stood on business. He and let me see, where did he finish, by the way? Where did he finish? But at least he didn't crash out, so that means he really let me see. Yeah, he finished P17. He was overlapped, but okay. Fernando Alonso was another one. I think Fernando Alonso was just gathering data for Aston Martin because you can explain why he was on that race. Like, also remember, I've already said he beached his car during qualifying practice. So I think he was just gathering data for Aston Martin per se. So Aston Martin were redeemed by having that P9 finish by Lance Stroll. So that helped their maybe weekend a little bit. So this race was actually poised to be like a boring one to some degree, really. Like, it only came alive during the last 9, 11 laps. Yeah, that's when the race came alive. Also, can I just say something from that race thing? Like, Checo was, of course, like on a very, I don't know, he was on a very different strategy to everyone. So when the other, like when when the other drivers pit, for example, like Oscar Piastri, not Oscar, like Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc, they had to clear him very fast, which they did. But I'll say this, Checo Perez, and I'll look you in the eye when I say Checo Perez will race absolutely no one but Lewis Hamilton. And I don't know, I think I've noticed, like, is it like an ego boost for the drivers when they race hard against Lewis Hamilton? Like, oh yeah, I raced against Lewis Hamilton. Because Checo, even the commentators were like, oh my God, like, what's happening? Like, he was not racing anyone. He seemed like he was, just strolling, like on a not on a Zoom, like on a snooze thing. And then, oh, he's like looking in his mirrors. I was like, oh my God, that's a yellow helmet. That's the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton. I have to get up. I have to get on I have to stand on business. And he tried to stand on business. I mean, he's so, who that on my side mirrors is that Lewis Hamilton. Tried to stand on business for a lap, but the business failed anyway. He stood at least on business, not so much. He stood though. So he made it hard for Lewis Hamilton to get through, but he did get through after that lap anyway. So that's one of the things. I mean, I think it's an ego boost for most drivers when they do this on Lewis Hamilton. They're like, oh yeah, let's race. Yeah. And Perez, what is wrong with you, man? Can you like drive? Anyways, there was really nothing remarkable about just the team radios. Not Sergio, George Russell. George Russell was on a different strategy to Lewis. He pitted fast, so that means he had more life tire, or not more life tire. So his tires were more aged, yeah, so more life. Not more life, really. More age on his tires. So George Russell had to pit. They had like that free pit stop to Checo Perez. So that means they could pit and come out ahead of Checo Perez, because Checo was also on fresher tires and he could catch them. And apparently there was the team was not very confident of George Russell's tires, so they had to pit him. And George was like, he's not even worried about his tires. Like, will you let me, while am I conceding position? Am I going to get my position back? So he pits, he comes out and he's like, will Lewis let me by? Oh my God. George Russell can be so annoying sometimes. Like, like, boy, the team is telling you your tires might not actually make it to the end, and your cause for concern is, well, Lewis, let me by. I mean, fair enough. Okay, I'd give him that. Like, why are you stopping me? I'm losing a position. I'm conceding a position. Well, why are you pitting me? Pit Lewis. But then I'm like, the team is telling you there's a problem. Like, they're worried your tires might not get to the end, and Lewis is catching you. And if, like, Lewis catches you, overtakes you easily, his tires would have fallen off, and probably Checo would get him as well. And also there's a problem of probably, getting a puncture, slow puncture, like that slows you down. So I was like, your cause of concern, like, George, please, your tires are falling off. Can you like fight one battle at a time? We're telling you your tires are not going to work, and then you're like, can we concede position? Jesus Christ, like, that was not really pleasant. But like, that's George, like, so we're used to that. So I was, yeah, but the thing is, like, focus on your tires fast. Focus on your tires before the battle that is ahead of you. Anyway, the other like exciting things from this weekend were the team radios. The team radios were frantic and very funny. There's Max Verstappen being told, "Oh, there's something." I think he was just giving feedback to his team, and then they got back to he. No, they gave him information, and then Max is like, whatever, and then the team is like, that's just information we're giving you, and then Max retorts as well. I could also argue the same. Like, I'm also giving you information back. Like, this team radios were really, I can't. I will try to find them, and we'll probably. I think those will be among the iconic team radios from this season. There was also the Lando Norris as well. His team radios also hilarious, downright hilarious as well. So, oh, let's talk about before we go to that, like, nerve-wracking ending of that race. There's also PSG. PSG needs to work on his race pace. Oh my God, PSG, like you're so goated. Like you've won a race already, so. Sprint race or not, it's a race. So you can do it. So I just want you to work on your race pace. I still believe in Oscar Piastri. He's gonna do something. He's gonna work. Congratulations to my Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki, you're doing so amazing. This is the venue that Yuki gave us, that iconic. It's a traffic paradise. We didn't get it in qualifying, a lot of it. Remember, this was almost their home race as well. The VCAB factory, like they're based at Faenza, just in Italy as well, not far away from Imola as well. So was probably also their home race. Yuki was going so well because Yuki has tested around Imola for so long. Like, he's tested around Imola so many times. He knows this track probably like the back of his hand. I don't know why there's that phrase of hand. I don't even know the back of my hand. Like, if you showed me my hands, I'd not easily like point it out. Like, that's my hand. Such a weird figure of speech as well. But you get it. Yeah, I say Yuki, a budding foodie. Yuki loves his food. I hope he gets to open his restaurant. He's always wanted to open his restaurant. And one of the things he's always looking forward to, like every race weekend, is to try the different food from the different hospitality zones that they have in F1. And I love that for him as well. Anyway, let's talk about the business, why we're here really. So I think Red Bull was getting caught by Lando Norris. That gave us like quite the ending to that race. We were all on our feet, on our toes. We were like, oh my God, we're willing Lando Norris or whoever you support to actually get on with it. The race ended with Lando Norris in Max Verstappen's DRS zone. He was he just finished seventh, 0.7 seconds ahead of Max Verstappen. What does this mean? McLaren upgrades are working. That means it is game on. Remember, like Max Verstappen is just 48 points ahead of Charles Leclerc in the drivers championship. 48 can easily be undone. It's just two races, one DNF from Red Bull, and everything is the door is left wide open for the drivers championship. I still feel like we have 17 more races to go, and and McLaren thought they would be fighting for the wins later on, and they're fighting this early, round 7. This is opening up the season for such exciting news and exciting action on track. And I hope this form continues. Like, McLaren seem to be on with their departments, and pit stops, their strategies are good, the driver is good, but I'll need Oscar to work on his race pace as well. And then there's Lando. I need them to just have everything together. I need them to take that whole fight. And I don't know what this will mean for I know like Max Verstappen and Lando are very good friends, but I can't wait to see how this unfolds for everyone. And I also want to see that battle between Lando and Piastri as well. Ferrari are not so far back as well. Like, they're right there, but I'll need them to work on their qualifying form. Like, they're very good. I mean, they seem to have... Ferrari historically always struggled with tire degradation. Like, they struggle with their tires. But now they seem to have gotten over that problem. So I'll need them to... You see, they don't need to catfish me anymore. I need you, that pace you have in practice, have it in qualifying, so that you set up yourself very well, because track position in Imola was very important. So if you qualify very high up, you're setting up yourself for success. So I need Ferrari to follow through with that as well, like qualify nicely. Now go to the race, take their fight to the McLarens, to the Red Bulls, the Red Bull of Max Verstappen, really. I need that to happen. That was really exciting. really exciting stuff for that last, like, you didn't even need to support anyone. It was just like really exciting for Lando. Could he have won? He won in Miami last week out, and now he was winning on merit. No safety car, no nothing. His tires came alive. His car was, he's burned out all that fuel. His car is light. He's taking the money. He's taking the fight to Red Bull. And I thought Max would be able to pull out. He wasn't able to pull out. Lando is just eating into that gap, eating into that gap. Yeah, until give him 2 more laps, he would have overtaken Max Verstappen on that track anyway. Like we don't work like that in Formula One. It's not like hypothetical battles. The battle was won there. I feel like Max Verstappen had to fight for that win as well. And now I think as the season goes on, the margin for error is like this for Max and Red Bull now. And I'm so excited. I dare say now McLaren seem to be at the level of Red Bull. They are catching them, and I think they not even no longer catching them. They've caught them. Now it's game on for everyone, and I need everyone to bring their zoom. Mercedes might just continue. They can fight VCAB now. I don't know because it's not very impressive stuff from them. Really, they're just underwhelming, and it's okay. I hope they get to work on the. I always get on Mercedes, but like maybe next race I'll try to get something on them. That's really all from me. But I forgot I was supposed to open with this. Anyway, remember we have like this fun segment we do, be honey and sting for the weekend. I'll go right into it. So one, my honey for this weekend. No, should I start with the honey? Yeah, my honey for this weekend will be the beautiful scenes of Sebastian Vettel driving Ayrton Senna's car. This was the 30th anniversary, like of Ayrton Senna's and Roland Ratzenberger's death anniversary. Like they lost their lives around Imola, and that's my honey for the weekend. Seeing Sebastian Vettel drive around Imola and do an India 2013 on Senna's car, like bowing down to that car. I mean, of course, you can call that content cringe, but like, Vettel will honor his heroes, and I love it for him. Also, it was so emotional to see. Yeah, it was Vettel's dad. He was there, and he was almost in tears. He grew up watching Ayrton Senna's, not grew up, but like Sebastian's dad also loved Ayrton Senna, and I think Sebastian Vettel drive around the track was also emotional for him. That has to be my honey for the weekend. That was really sweet. My B, of course, has to be that Lando Norris finish. My B has to definitely be that. Like Lando Norris really brought that race alive, and I wish he had more than one lap to go, and he would have caught Max Verstappen. That was really like a highlight. As Sting, I really don't think there was anything that was like an ouch apart from Ferrari catfishing me. It was really an ouch moment for me. Or like Piastri getting that grid penalty. Piastri had qualified P2. What could have been for his race had he not gotten that grid penalty for, I think it was impeding or something. Yeah, it's just like a McLaren communication issue to the driver. So that was really that has to be my sting. But all in all, that was it for this weekend. There was really nothing spectacular apart from making a return to Italy as well, to Imola after a break from that region. And it's very Italico, like the countryside, the pizza, the fans, the tifosi, all beautiful, really. So we're off to Monaco. Monaco is another, not a very interesting race, but it's a crown jewel of Formula One, a crown jewel of motorsport. So the Monaco Grand Prix is a very important one. Qualifying is the most important event. It's more important than the race, really, and it's more electrifying because the race is more of a what is that? What is that word? The race is more of a what is the word? Like the single file. It's more of a processional thing anyway. Like wherever you qualified is probably where you will end up, you know, finishing your race, unless we get some rain very early on. Like last year we got some rain and we got a bit of excitement, and we had like Vesti on podium last year. Unless that happens, it's scheduled to rain. The forecast says it will rain on Saturday. What's the fun in that? We want a dry race on Saturday, so that it's a track that really tests the driver accuracy to the merry millimeter. Like it's really very close. The barriers are there. Nelson Piquet has described it as driving a bicycle around your living room. That's how tight it is driving around Monaco, and that's exciting. And I'll catch you out in the next debrief on Monaco. Remember to follow us on Instagram at the World Spin Podcast. In fact, on all social media handles at the World Spin Podcast, and remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at the World Spin Podcast and follow us wherever you're listening this podcast from. That's all from me. Have a lovely week ahead, and I'll see you in after the Monaco Grand Prix. Bye.